So, for example, let me talk very briefly about the data that we'll try, the data set that we'll try to construct now. So, for example, how many files? Okay, I will show you how we can create a data set with 10 data files that correspond to 6 biosamples. Okay, so this corresponds to, I have 4 E15.5 soft palette biosamples, so data that comes to these biosamples. Then I also have other files that come from single cell sequencing that I did on E12.5 hard palette. All these are for an ACAM -- mutant and the comparison with the wild type. And for the single cell data sets, for the single cell experiments, I actually have 2 replicates of each. Okay, so we already had as answer how many files, how many biosamples, how many experiments. So we had 2 types of experiments: spatial genomics and single cell sequencing. So basically, the job is to collect all these files that we'll upload, create the biosamples and the experiments, and then just upload the data and connect it together, and then upload the protocols for the experiments. Okay, so with that in mind, I think I want to get rid of this, and let's go and try to do that. So I will start a new window. I will go to FaceBase. Okay. My first step, like we said, is, let's say you have already received that email, you already joined the Globus group. I will try to, the entry point for the data contributors is the easiest, is trying to find your project. So I will go to projects, and in this case, I will use the FaceBase demo project. So I can search my project, for example, using the keyword demo. And well, I don't see the project that I'm looking for, which is FaceBase demo. And the reason I don't see it is because I haven't logged in. So I'm not logging in as a user that is allowed to work on that project. So let me log in with a user that it's already in that project. And then I will see that now I see this FaceBase demo project showing up. So I click every time we want to log in, dig into something, we use the view details logo on the left. So I'm gonna click view details. These are the information about the project. And I scroll down. All this, this is all a demo project, but in your case, you will see the information that you provided with the abstract of your project and all the people in your organization, and all this is self-curated. So we'll show you the mechanism, but you can edit all this information from the moment you can access it. And then when you scroll down to the dataset section, these are some other dummy data sets that we created before, but to do this new one, I will create here add records, and that takes me to the form to start a new data set. So, for example, I will put a bootcamp to make sure to remember that it's this, but I will enter some title that basically the title should be at the same level as the title that what you work on a paper, something that describes the data. For example, E12.5 and E15.5 spatial genomics. Oh, if I could type genomics and single cell RNA sequencing of mouse palette. Then the next field is the description. Again, this is kind of like in a paper, something that is like an abstract of a paper that describes what you have done and what kind of data someone will get if he gets this data set. So in this data set, we did this and that, right? Then the next section is the study design. This is something that we are not that strict about people putting a lot of information depending on the type of data set. Like some data sets that include many different types of experiments, that will provide you some description. If it's only one or two type of experiment, then that description is going to be contained in the protocol, so we're not very strict. And then there's a few other flags. One is whether this is a human subject or not. So in this experiment, this example, I will think about using mouse public data, so I will keep it no, but if you're submitting is a human subject data, you definitely have to click here and select yes. And then whether it requires CERDOI or not, like we already said, every piece of data set and projects are given a unique object identifier that you can use for cite the data or come back to the data, and which is permanent, so you leave it as yes. So we click yes, and that takes me to the data set, okay? And then this data set has basically, it has a lot of, you will see a lot of sections for different type of visualization and different type of things that we can do, but the main three things that we'll focus on a data set like today is the high level section, which is this section here at the top that asks you kind of more general question and general metadata that describe the data set that is mostly used for data discovery and searching the data. And then we'll go to generate what we call the structure of the data set, which is define the experiment, define the biosample, and upload the data. So let me go quickly through this top level, some of the top level fields. So the first one is the contributors. So everybody that is listed as a contributor, as a PI or as a contributor in the project will automatically be added here. You don't have to do that. But if there's additional people that are not part of your project but have also contributed to the data, then you can here click Add Records and select a user or create a new user and add it to this data set. Same thing for publications. If this data has already been featured in a publication and that publication has a PubMed ID, you can click there and enter the PubMed ID, and then you click Save. And then if you navigate back to the data set, then you will see directly a link to that PubMed ID page. The next section is the protocols. We'll see that for each experiment, we will ask you, and we are quite strict about this. This is something that we checked, especially during the review process, that each experiment has an associated protocol that describes how the experiment was performed. But you don't have to add it here. It will, once you add it to the experiment, it will automatically show up in here. The next one is the related data sets. So if you have, for example, some of the data that is related to this data set already in Geo or already in dbGaP, or if this is related to another data set in FaceBase, then you can establish that relationship in here so that you can directly link in there and go to that data. The next two lines are about human subject data, which is basically whether it is a human subject control data or not. And the other one, if this is control access, what are the data use limitations? So the next set of fields, they're all kind of metadata fields that we will see that all get populated when we create experiments and the biosample. So I will skip this section now, but what I would like to say is that any of these metadata that you enter in the biosample and in the experiment will get automatically populated here by the process that we have at night. But here we have the capability of adding more than one. So in the biosample or in the experiment, we'll probably only be able to allow to tag that experiment or that biosample with only one gene or only one experiment type or only one anatomy term. But here you can use multiple in case there's kind of like a hierarchy that you want to include, and that helps for the data discovery, because when people search for data, so if you can be as descriptive as possible, then it's good. But we can go through that later.